Whoa. Good. All right. Well, welcome to the March 14th, 2024 meeting of the Asheville-Buncombe Air Quality Agency. I'm going to read the public comment protocol announcement as we do the first thing. Public comment will be taken at the end of each board meeting. Persons wanting to address the board should sign up on the sheet provided. Speakers will be called in the order they are signed up. Comments should be limited to specific topics relevant to the board. At the board's discretion, limited comment may be allowed on individual agenda items during the course of the meeting as invited by the chair. And finally, all board meetings shall be recorded, including public comment periods. And we are being recorded right now. Okay, item 2 is adjustment and approval of the agenda. If you've had a chance to look at our agenda, it's pretty basic today. I'll approve.
So moved.
Moved by Carl.
Second.
Second by Evan. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're approved. So we have a consent agenda. Typically, that's the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting, which was January 25th, 2024. That was in your packet. If you've had a chance to review those, I'd also entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Moved by Carl.
Second.
Second by Gary. Any discussion or amendments to the agenda or to the minutes as presented?
One small thing for the mission permit renewal. It says that the vote was 3-0, but it was 3-1.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, it was.
You're right. I did.
The records.
Yes.
Were
yes,
correct. It was just the tally.
Yes.
Any other amendments? I'll entertain a motion from Evan then to approve the minutes as amended by the vote.
Second that.
Second by Carl. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're approved there. Ashley had sent out the non-discrimination policy, which I know we talked a little bit about last meeting. I know Amy had weighed in on it as well. And so Ashley had sent that out after the original agenda. But I'm going to turn it over to her to present that to us.
Okay, thanks.
It's help from Amy.
Okay, I'm going to muddle through this because my computer screen is black and I can't see anything on my PDFs. But so last time we looked at the non-discrimination policy and the questions came up about procedures and timeframes and things of that nature. So I was going to take that back and add some language, and I apologize for not sending it out with the packet. Ran into some questions. I needed to talk to Amy. And so it did send it out yesterday. And basically we've added a procedure section, which is the part in red. So hopefully you can see what we've added. And so I pretty much took that from the NCDEQ and some of the other policies I've seen. It's pretty much standard language. It says that we will evaluate it and determine if it's applicable and respond to whoever has some things of that nature. So I did also look about time frame because I just can't get it. But sorry. I did look at the time frame, and as far as the regulations go, if EPA gets a complaint about discrimination, they have a certain time frame that they have to respond in, but a grant applicant, it just says respond promptly. So I did not put any sort of proposed time frame in there. I just left that part out. But I did add the procedures there, and Amy looked it over. And Amy, I don't know if you have anything to add. I also added a statement saying that anyone that feels that they've been discriminated against has the option to file a complaint with EPA as well. So that was another addition.
I think we were going to discuss the issue of adding, was it gender identity to the list of protected groups?
Well, I just used the requirements from EPA, which includes sex, and it did not include gender identity, so that's not actually listed in.
I'm just trying. I'm scrolling back through our genetic information.
Oh,
sorry, that was
right.
So there's the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of genetic information. So if you were to find out somebody's health information or something like that, can't discriminate against that. I think we had discussed putting in a prohibition against discriminating. This policy will apply to applicants for positions with your agency as well. So that was my only area that I.
So point of reference, I thought this was more for the permittees. If they thought they had been slighted or something, right? This is actually for employment with the agency too?
It depends on who you want. I mean, we can have a separate.
I think we need a separate policy for that if we had it at all. I mean, I think the only reason we're doing this is because EPA requires us to have this in place in order to receive their grant money. Is that okay?
Okay, yeah, and just to add to what Joel was saying, the EPA, they have a set list of items from, Title IX, and so that was all that we put in there. And I think since our employees are county employees and subject to the county's personnel policy, then it's kind of an odd situation since we're, independent. We fall under the county for employment purposes, but we think that with discrimination, it's usually with regards to a permit that we would issue, like a federal enforceable permit. That's where we've seen agencies like ours get claims against them if they're in an environmental justice area, for example, and they permit a large facility with emissions. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So I did just stick to the specific items that are listed in the statute there. But
thank you for that clarification. I forgot about the relationship between the agency and the county. So yeah.
Okay, thanks. And Amy had suggested that we have it. Thanks, James. Okay. She had also suggested that once we decide on the policy, we need to get a Spanish translation added to the end. So we were just waiting for the board to weigh in and give us some direction. And then once everybody's happy with it, then we can get that Spanish translation added.
All right, what do y'all think?
I guess my question is, Ned was one that was concerned about some of the language in it. He's not here. Is that a concern for us moving ahead without his input?
I don't have a concern. I think it sounds like it's consistent with what the EPA got us was what they use.
I think what we've added does address Ned's concerns, as I recall.
Yeah, there's one thing that I think could be added that if I remember what Ned wanted, this gets to that, is the second paragraph that you added, the first sentence, you say that the coordinator will notify the parties of the final decision, but there's no timeline for that. The only timeline is the 180 days that the complainant has to contact the appropriate federal agency. So it's possible that some future evil director will take longer than 180 days to make the decision on the complaint, but then the window to appeal to the EPA is closed. So how long do you think it would take you to look at a complaint? 30 days, 60 days?
Well, the regulations just say prompt, but they do spell out that they only have 180 days. I mean, we do say in the procedures that if we respond to someone and they're not satisfied with the response, then we have to let them know that they have the right to file with EPA, but no later than 180 days after the alleged discrimination occurred. So I would add that in reading Part 7 of 40 CFR, it says that if your agency has less than 15 people, you're not required to have procedures and you're not required to list a coordinator. Well, we went ahead and did that anyway. But on the form that we fill out that we submit to EPA, where right now we're just putting not applicable. But I deliberately didn't put a time frame because it just says prompt. And I just thought, who knows how complicated it's going to be. We'll have to turn it over to legal. I was hesitant to make up an arbitrary time frame like 30 days or just not knowing the situation. So that was why I deliberately left the time frame out. But I mean, I agree it's important to respond prompt, but what is that? So I mean, I think that Amy, that they have the option to file a complaint with us, but then they also can file with EPA and just bypass us if they wish, right?
That's right.
And the other thing that we have to fill out in the form that we submit to EPA twice a year for our grant is, do we have this policy? Is it on the website? Is it Can it be translated? You know, there's a lot of questions like that. And also we have to report whether or not anyone has filed a report on us. And then EPA, of course, can investigate it. We have to disclose it and then they can investigate it. So I don't know if that.
Yeah, no, that, I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't want to tie the agency's hands to some arbitrary timeline. But so in the please note that complainants have the option to file a complaint with the appropriate federal agency. Maybe saying complainants also have the option to file a complaint, so it doesn't seem like that would be the appeal, that they can only appeal to the agency, that they can also circumvent.
So Kevin, your concern is that the timeline's going to run out potentially if you had an evil director.
It could, yeah.
And then they wouldn't even be able to go to EPA.
They might not know that it's said.
Yeah, I could see the reason.
Yeah.
Maybe we should clarify that a little bit.
But I think just adding the word also, I think does that.
I think so too. I think that's a good suggestion. And because I was unsure myself how that worked. I mean, it sounds like they can file with, the language says they have to file with us within 180 days, but they also have to file with EPA within 180 days of the alleged discrimination, right? So,
Right. So I'm certainly comfortable with that very minor but clarifying change.
sounds good.
Anybody else want to comment on it? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the discrimination policy as amended by Kevin.
Yes, motion.
Motion by Evan. Second by Carl. All right. Any further discussion? And get this to the end line. All right. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Passes.
Okay, so I
There
was
you go,
going to go to the
Lauren.
podium to do the presentation, and I think several of the items in the director's report are going to be covered in the presentation. So the director's report should be very brief.
So I just want to tee this up. Ashley's going to open it, of course, but yeah, we've been through quite a bit with this budget. I know Bessie's worked hard, the rest of the staff, and Ashley's put a lot of work into it too. And this is really a PowerPoint presentation that the agency has to do every year to talk to the county about the budgeting process. We just felt like, since it's pretty extensive and we've been talking about this potential change in the county taking the agency over, that a lot of stuff that's in here kind of relates to that and some of the assumptions in the budget. So I felt like having a little bit more formal here, let y'all see what staff's been up to with these.
I want to say thanks to Betsy for working on the budget. She's been at it since, I don't know, Betsy, November or December or January at least, but she put together this presentation. And this presentation is something that's in the county template. It's on our format, but basically every year we have to present the budget before we present it to our board. We have to present it to first the assistant county manager, twice to the assistant county manager actually, and then it has to go to the county manager if there's any kind of expansion where you're asking for any increase in programs, staffing, or anything of that nature. So I'll probably be largely explaining the format and the different items that we're covering, and basically things that county requires us to put in the presentation. James, do you have it?
I was supposed to have it. Yes.
So,
I've got it. I might have had the wrong.
So as far as the agenda goes, I can tell you what we're going to cover. And first, we have a slide on our strategic alignment, goals, and accomplishments. So this is our opportunity typically to get in front of the county manager once a year and say, hey, these are all the things that we accomplished last year and the goals for next year. They're mainly focused. They want a high-level summary with recent trends. They want a head count, how many people we have. They want to see a graph of our operating expenses and how that was the last couple of years. We're going to show that information. They want to know what's new in this budget, particularly with regards to personnel. They want to know about our operating expenses, anything that we're looking to increase there. For personnel, we are proposing to fill our vacant position that's the one we call the seventh position. We're also proposing the budget for temporary, part-time staff to work on our digitization. I'll get into more details, and also a summer internship. On the operating side, we're looking to put some funds into the file digitization project and also replace a vehicle. Revenues, we do have an increase in grant funds, and I'll get into more detail on all these items in upcoming slides. And then the fee changes, they always require every year, just to show what's going on with our fees, if there are an department that charges fees, and show that. Also, the equity analysis tool, that's something that's required now for any kind of expansion. So if you're looking to add a position, which we're not, we're just doing the position is spending additional funds. So you have to do the equity. So this is just our strategic alignment goals and accomplishments, and I'm just going to hit the high points here and move quickly through this. A lot of this is stuff that the county manager hears about once a year, but obviously we meet every couple of months, and you guys are familiar with this. But as far as accomplishments, I put, and we have to call it, FY24, but this is really what we accomplished in 2023. And then our goals for FY25 are really our goals for calendar year 24. I think in terms of calendar years, so I just wanted to clarify that. But we've met all our EPA requirements for our program. This last year, we did upgrade our air pollution monitoring network. That's our PM monitoring side of the Board of Ed. I'll get into more detail about that, but we added a new monitor, a PM10 monitor, that's required whenever our MSA reaches 500,000, which we're approaching. Also, accomplishments, got a lot of good projects going on with UNCA, with Evan. We've got a community science station up now. The big monitoring site, which is really new from the rooftop to the ground, which is what I think I'm most proud of for the whole year. Just appreciate all the staff and all the work getting that done. Everybody, it's a huge group effort. Board of Ed was a big help. Complaint module and Excel was put into implementation. 2023 is our first year getting all of our data off of our old access database to Excel, which is a platform counties use for permits and inspections, and we're sharing that data with the code enforcement team. Worked on some other projects like upgrading the charging stations at Atlanta's Guide to Vehicles Coalition. Worked on Clean Heat Initiative with sustainability, where we're hoping to look for some funds for that. We're really replacing older combustion heat sources, heat pumps, or emission heat pumps. They're working on the school bus initiative. In addition to that, just list of other projects here: the Sustainable Brewing Project, promoting energy efficiency. Goals for next year, we're really hoping to do more modernization of our IT processes. Love to get our permanent facilities in Excel. We'd like to do that so that our permanent facilities can pay electronically. We're still having to pay checks and as permit fees, with the exception of asbestos demolition removal permits. That's a big upgrade. So again, it's IT is limited their resources. We're hoping to make some progress with that this year, but it depends on them. Again, the digitization project, we'd like to get that approved and move forward on that, so that we can take more things electronically and modernize these systems. Again, we've got grants that we'd like to apply for, and there's a community science station. We're hoping to do an educational display with Nesbitt High School, Nesbitt Discovery Academy out of the Board of Ed. We met with them, and they're interested. Evan is helping with that as well. Also, we put a little bit of extra funds in the budget for radon test kits. That's something we get called about every year, and they come on to provide those. And replacing this vehicle for the diesel truck, 18-year-old vehicle that we'd like to replace with an electric vehicle. So, high-level summary again, funding the digitization project. We think that filling the vacant position is really key to our successful planning and restructuring of the agency, with 2 senior level staff retiring this year. Internship funding, we'll get into the numbers for that. But we'd like to have a summer intern for the brewery project so that we can continue to
coordinate that project with the breweries. And the county has, sort of a guideline for that as far as how much we pay and how many hours. We did put a little extra money in the budget for community outreach. That's things like we have our Premier Excellence Awards and also some money for the science project for the, our monitoring site. We've got some pictures to show you, but it's very visible now right there in front of the Board of Ed. We like to have displays and giving everybody's monitoring sites, information about air pollution and community science children. So also this is just some figures of our fund balance. Again, our fund balance is healthy now, but we are expecting to have full years. So this is our headcount slide, where we're proposing to fill this vacant position for FY24. You can see our operating expenses on the graph. We are showing a significant increase requested for FY25. We have some one-time funds, and we'll move on down to the next slide, and I've got some more figures to explain what the increases are here. As far as the open air quality specialist position, that's in here as well. Temporary part-time, showing up under contractual services. In the file that they basically $10,000 in that. So the report of IT and what they're recommending is when it comes to the part of file digitization, that's the expensive part, that is having the older file scanned into the systems. They recommend having a temporary employee either on a contract basis, or it could be somebody from a temp agency come in-house and do that with us here, where we are here so that they can come to us and say, hey, where does this file go? Instead of, we've had much better success with that, IT has, as opposed to sending it out to another company. So that's $10,000 for that part-time position to try to start that file digitization project. $104,000 for the vacant position. I think the pay on that position is around $60,000, but once you add in all the benefits and everything, it gets up over $100,000. And then the intern is $15 an hour. It's 20 hours a week, so that's $4,600. So these are the standard questions that the county always wants to see whenever you're proposing something like this. Why are you doing this? What is the risk of not doing it? Obviously, for the business stage of the project, we really need to modernize. We take electronic reports from our facilities. We can't take electronic reports, but we still have to require paper. State and air quality. Really need to get that going. As far as the intern goes, we just really want to continue this project for a reason. We think that it's a good thing that we can do in the community for mission productions. And really, when it comes to the maintenance position, a lot of it comes down to continuity of operations. We're doing our food plan now, working with the county as part of the emergency operations plan. And, we've just lost so many positions. We've been so lean for so long, trying to black funding and increasing salary benefits, that we just got down to the point where something when we go down that nature, we would be in a real really think that important and restructuring hiring. Do it now. So we're requesting it now from that. Next slide. This is the slide this is sort of our functionality. Yes, we have the line at the top. It's the leading something out of work, and this is just and we have great cost of living increases. You appreciate the staff while paying well, having smaller, you got maybe staff, maybe how much they get done. And we have the cost of living increases in the personnel policy since 2008. Cost of living increases every year.
and your funding is flat, like happened the last 18 years, so we finally got a small, an increase this last year. This is how we have dealt with it, it's just by not replacing people when they leave. And this is the main reason, and I'm really pushing the idea of trying to become a county department so that we can get a little bit of funding. Because I just don't see this changing, and with the cost of living continuing, we just can't lose any more people until it's all work on. So that's our answer to the question of is there a way to continue without this position. Next slide is revenues. Quickly, these numbers should match up with the sheets that are in subsequent pages. But I would just highlight that again, it's revenue, so you can see our grants. We have our first increase in grants finally in 2004 that we got in 2024. 280,000 for the 105 grant was 57,000 or so more than previous year. And we are hoping that will stay the same. Typically the EPA and Congress would like to get an increase for the first time in a year with a big level for a few years. So we're hoping that stays the same. We did see in the continuing resolution that they have to continue to fund the government with the amount that EPA is getting is slightly less. So we don't have a figure from EPA yet, but based on our estimates, it's going to be a few thousand less, but not significantly less. So that's good news. If you look down at our 103 grant, the $60,000 that we got in 2022 and 23, we've been getting $60,000 for since 2004. And if you look down below that, 84,000 that there. So the additional 24,000, the 103, and 67 or 5 comes out to about 90,000 more. Hoping to see in recurring funding really help pay for this position. It's going to cost 5,000 or so. And then you see with a little asterisk, we got 75,700 and 42,000. That was one-time monitoring funds, one-time free funds that came from ARPA, and it says Clean Air Act. That's under I already, Clean Air Act funds. So basically, those are one-time funds. I've got some slides on that to show you what we purchased for that equipment. So that's what we're showing there. And other revenues, we're looking at gas tax staying flat. It has been flat. I have learned that they have been putting sales tax revenue, I believe, in the highway fund for the last couple of years. I think that's why they're flat and they're still in the same amount. But everyone acknowledges that gas tax, long term is going to be an issue, but DOT and others are working on that. So for now, for the next years, we expect that to be flat and not decrease. Permit fees, we are looking at an increase because of the CPI that we put in 2021, and that allows us to adjust the fee according to the CPI just for the final bucket. So I've got another slide with more detail on that. But there is an increase around 9,000 or so that I'm projecting here. And we are also proposing to increase the tonnage fee by $3. That's something that the board can do from here outside of rulemaking. And so the EPA presumptive minimum has gone up to $62, and we're recommending that increase, which would equate to a little less than $10 more of an increase. If you look under the total revenues budget for FY24, you can see that 999. That does not include what we were projecting for the fund balance for 2016. So that if you add those two together, that will equate to the other figures that are in the spreadsheet that are in the packet. And then for FY25, what we have put in here is projection for this one-time funding that we think we're going to be getting from EPA of $166,000. So back in January, we explained that under the IRA, we submitted a needs assessment about our need for a monitoring department. And that's something that the air agency lobbied for, and we're getting funding. It's been shown that a lot of this monitoring equipment is really old on across the nation. And so when EPA awarded these funds, they did award one-time funds for monitoring departments. So what we reported back in January was a request, but we have not heard back. So we have heard back, and we have been cleared to apply for $233,000 in non-competitive funds. But that doesn't mean we still have to apply for it because it's non-competitive. And it's a little different this year because instead of like a year or so ago, the ARPA funds where we gave them a specific list of equipment and they said, yes, that's approved. This is a little more general where they said, well, give us your equipment list of things you need, but you can also include other things like a vehicle for your monitoring department and even include staffing. If your monitoring department needs staffing, justify it, but keep in mind that this is not recurring funds. So we did put in for that position $50,000 for lightning and the equipment that we needed. So the $166,000. That's basically us assuming that we'll get the 50K for the vehicle and the 56K for the equipment, and we estimated that maybe we could get 60K for half of that position because you have to justify it. Whole position person is not going to be doing monitoring 100%. So reasonably, if they're doing monitoring 50% of the time, then we think that's a reasonable argument we can put in our request, in our work plan that we submit. And we should get an answer back from EPA this spring or this summer. And this funding can be spread out over multiple years. I forget if it's 3 years for IRA funds, but what we're proposing is to fund half of that position for 2 years with these extra funds. And, you know, letting EPA know that we've got staff retiring and that our monitoring department has been understaffed for several years now, and that we need this position to keep that funding. So I think it's reasonable. Again, the budget is sort of our best guess. Might have to revise it. So another note I would make is just that the additional 50,000 or so that we got in FY24 was not in the budget because last year at this time we didn't know what we were going to get, so we just put what we got the year before. So when you look at our FY24 budgeted numbers here in FY25, and you're trying to figure out why it's so much more, part of it is we didn't have that amount correct in the first place. Our budget was actually less than what we got and what it ended up being. We talked about then the budget amendment, and the budget department said, well, if you get more money than you're expecting, you don't have to do an amendment. You know, asking for more money, you know, so of course you can for a rise of this. But I don't have any questions.
The revenue streams, do they come in all at once, or how do they come in during the year? They come in spring, summer? How do all those flow into the organization?
Well, the 105 grant comes once a year, and the 103 grant comes in once a year, but it's different times of the year. I'll let Betsy elaborate, but as far as the permit fees go, we have them scheduled. So we bill certain facilities like gas stations we bill in January. Then our 70 permitted facilities, we have broken down every 2 months. So we're sending out an invoice every 2 months. So those reports are trickling in. Gas tax we get once a month. That's pretty significant. And then the 103 and the 105 grant, that's we usually, like we haven't received our 105 grant yet. It's very late, but we tend to pull it down kind of in arrears. So yeah, that comes in once a year, and the 103 comes in once a year. They're usually a few months apart.
Right. We've been pulling down. So the 103 budget year is, which is the monitoring budget, is the main fund, is from April 1st to March 30th. So I will pull down the last of those funds in a week. So I started pulling them down like in January, just, you know, a small amount each month. We could pull it out. It was awarded last April, but it's budgeted in the current budget year. And the EPA likes for you to spend those funds within a few days. So usually we've already spent it when I try to make sure that we've already spent it. And the 105 grant funds, which We don't even know what the current fiscal year we're going to get. We usually have gotten at least $3,000 by now. We budget that in the next Buncombe County fiscal year. So the federal fiscal year, this is probably way more than you want to hear, but the federal fiscal year is October the 1st through September the 30th. And the Buncombe County budget year is July 1st through June 30th. So we typically pull down the 2024 federal 105 funds in between July and September. So we're still in the right 2024 federal budget year, but it will be in the county's next budget year. And we have a little more control with it that way. We've spent it by that time. There's no question. We've spent it by that time. And if anybody wants to ask any more questions about that, feel free to email me or call me. I'm happy to. I can bore you to death with all the little details if you like.
But thanks, Betsy, and just to point out that we started that years ago, and we've been able to keep that going. Right now, there's a lot of agencies that are very stressed because our money is late this year. We want to find money, and it's such a big percentage of our budget. They really need the money right away. And we're fortunate that we pull ours down a little later than everybody else, and so they're not as concerned. They're telling me.
Right, and it's like, isn't it like tied to the federal government? Right, it's tied to the federal government.
Exactly. We still don't. But they did pass something. Yeah, we haven't got our figures yet, but based on the numbers I saw, I did quick calculation. It could be like 15 or 20,000 less. But I usually over calculate that. So I'm hoping it's only 10 or so thousand less than what we got last year, but for now, it's better than what we got last year. Because that's
Thank you.
This presentation and its components, it was at the request and direction of the county manager.
yes.
And we are an agency of both the county and the city. What is the city requesting?
They have not requested anything. They do request an annual report from us every year where they want to know our goals and our accomplishments and if we're recommending any policy changes and if we're planning to ask them for any money. And so, we give them Bill and I met with them a year or so ago about our financial situation, but they've not asked us for anything.
The county is our fiscal agent. So therefore they manage our money. Either the finance director or the assistant finance director signs our federal fiscal reports for our 103 and 105 grants.
Well, you said the operative word there, our money.
Yeah, they do hold our money in separate accounts. And based like Betsy said, they're responsible for it. And so they require us to go through these same steps as all the other county departments, even though we're self-funded. Now they did give us some leeway. They're asking for something like a position. They don't scrutinize us so much because they know that it's our board's decision, whether or not we're that have a fund balance. So they're giving us some leeway and not scrutinizing so much. They do require us to go through all the procedures as far as, our accounts get audited, all that type of thing, whenever the rest of the county account. When the county submits a budget for approval to the commissioners, they include, air quality fund, and there's a little note that says air quality. There's an interlocal one, they were going for the their budget, so it kind of passes through. But they are again responsible. They have to sign off on federal grants, the statements that we provide to EPA. They review it.
One thing that I'd add that's kind of side note is, we have a large fund balance. Well, the county has a finance department that manages the county money, and they have a little bit bigger fund balance than we do. And because interest rates have been like they are, we've earned more on our money the past couple of years than we've budgeted. So like last year, we actually made $22,000 on our money, but we only budgeted for $5,000. Oh, excuse me, that would be the year that we got $22,000, we hadn't budgeted for any, which was one reason we put money back in. And this past year we did $5,000, and already we have $12,000. But they don't want us to budget for more than 5 for next year. So that kind of helps. That's one of those reasons sometimes we don't hold as much on that fund balance. Because it's not something we can necessarily.
And another note I would make is after we prepare this, the county also, in addition to approving things like new positions, which we're not requesting a new position, we're just asking to fill a vacant one. Vehicles are another thing that we have to put in for. So anytime we want to fill a vacant position, if someone leaves, we are of course allowed to fill that position. But if we're looking to replace a vehicle or anything of that nature, fill a vacant position, ask for a new position, all has to be done during the budget process. Like this vehicle that we want to replace, if we don't request it now, we don't get another opportunity to request it for another year, and then it would be the middle of 2025 before we could do it. So a lot of the reason that we're asking to do everything now is because we have to get in our ask well ahead of time. And since we put in for the vehicle and gone through the vehicle evaluation team, have to show that the vehicle is older, 5 miles, things of that nature. The county has now decided that they want to move toward leasing vehicles instead of buying vehicles. There's a business case for that, and so we have to get special permission to say, look, we are asking EPA for funding for $50,000 for this Ford Lightning. And if EPA gives us the funding, we would like to be able to purchase this vehicle as we can plan, not enter into a lease arrangement, because we don't need to go for that. And they said they agreed, and that's fine. And so if EPA does approve us for that in this grant pass, that's what we'd like to do. But our backup plan, Plan B, they expect us to follow the county procedures. So if we did not get awarded funds for the vehicle, then we would be proposing to lease the vehicle at a cost of around $13,000 to $15,000 per year. So instead of $50,000 in budget, it would be somewhere around $13,000 to $15,000, and that's spread the cost out over time. So that's our backup. And they've approved 15 electric vehicles 4 years ago, hybrid vehicles, gas. Because we have to follow their policy just to get the price of fuel efficient vehicle that we can get that works with business days. Electric vehicles are obviously the lowest emitting, so we support that and are making the things to replace older trucks. Kevin's been driving. Kevin's not here on a burning plane, but hasn't had heat for the last 2 years. 18 years old. That's one of the arguments. That's one of the pluses of leasing is you are driving a safer, newer vehicle. Don't put it on. Okay, so moving right along, I'll just go through quickly. This is just these changes. This shows that our CPI increase that is for our qualified facilities would be about $5,740 for the budget year. If we increase the tonnage fee by $3, that would be another $39.24. So if the board, it does approve that, we're looking at an additional $9,664 approximately. Equity questions, we had to fill this out because digitizing files and spending that $10,000 to start that process is an expansion. And so we made the case that having files digitized increases access to the public. We can get them on the website and permits and inspections and things of that nature, makes the file more accessible. So we've got some language in here about that. And also when we did our monitoring upgrade, which I've got a couple slides on that coming up, all of this Inflation Reduction Act money, a lot of it is tied to the disability and environmental justice areas. Buncombe County Board of Ed, our monitoring site that we expanded is an environmental justice area. And Dr. Pizzo is doing his project where he's in the central project that you guys know in the marginalized community, so we mentioned that here. And here at the end, I just added a few slides because the county manager doesn't hear from us except once a year, and I included some information about what we do. And so I'll go through these very quickly in the interest of time, but
This is just a list of all the numbers of facilities that we permit, you know, how many inspections we do, every year. Some of the facilities, emergency gas stations, annual and biannual inspections, stage 1 vapor recovery, natural gas stations. Hazardous air pollution get inspected by us every year. Pratt Whitney, that was 2023. We were involved with the economic development group with the county and helping them, you know, meeting with them and helping them get their permit and going through the whole process. So that was a significant project that we were able to contribute to. Compliance and enforcement, you know, we continue to get more and more burning complaints. We used to get 40 or so complaints a year. Now it's more like 80. We are working with the compliance. Enforcement team with the county. There's a lot of sites, a lot going on. You can see there's people burning copper wire here in this pile and all kinds of other stuff. And the investing in demolition permitting and inspection program. Mike is issuing 300 plus permits a year, so that's pretty good. He's had a lot going on these last couple of years. Monitoring network. This is a highly technical slide because it was actually presented to the state monitoring conference. James did, and it's got all the key information about the types of monitors and things. But that's our ground level ozone site on the right, our new PM site with the sensor shelter on the left, and our toxic site down at the bottom. Here's just a couple slides with what we purchased these last couple of years with the one-time funds. The Teledyne T640X is a new PM10 monitor. And then on the right, that's an ozone monitor. Our ozone monitors are several years old, so we were able to get a big one of those. They were due to be replaced. And the very next slide is the equipment that we are now purchasing that we got from the IRA and MERAC grants last year. We have some alley pads, these are calibrators. We have another ozone standard machine. We have to have 2 of those, so $20,000 each for those. But we got one last year, we got another one this year, and the Naval Ranger, which I know you guys really want to hear all about. We'll bring it out another time. But that's what we purchased with that equipment. So we feel like we're in really good shape. The reason, you know, the fund balance is typically used for purchasing things, capital equipment like monitors and vehicles. And so with us having all this new equipment, you know, our fund balance should be in good shape for a few years at least. Getting this vehicle, if we were able to do, would be great. And funding this position, if we do have the county take us over in the department where we can at least ask for funds. I think we'd be going into the arrangement where we probably wouldn't have to ask for much right away. We can show that we have valuable services, and then the ask would be pretty minimal. Then I think that, and I think we're being more stable with the staff and just a way to try to improve things. That's a good service. So here's really quickly just some slides. We'll go through these quickly. That's our ozone levels. They've been decreasing over time. We've got a PM 2.5 slide. It was having a new standard, 12 micrograms per cubic meter is that gray line, and the EPA just issued a new standard, which it's actually 9. Spoiler alert, they tell you about the new standard that we have to comply with is 9 micrograms per cubic meter, which is not showing up here. So moving on, these are unhealthy days. I had to ask James because they almost look kind of yellow, but the point here is we have not had any code orange days since 2017. So that's great.
That's fantastic.
We have had some it's confusing because we've had some days forecast to be code orange and no burning allowed, but then the actual monitoring data, we did not have a code orange. So all good news there. And the next slide, again, is what I'm most proud of for the year. Is this previous rooftop site. You can't tell, but that's about 20 feet off the ground. And we had a ladder with a cage around it. And now we have the wonderful new site to the right there. The Citizen Science Shelter is that big boxy looking thing. That's where all Evans equipment is. And the last slide is our ozone site mascot. We had a turkey come nest with us the first year.
Oh, it was our no, it's like meant for a surprise. You're like, oh, what's gonna, and then you click it. Oh, there's your turkey turkey friend there, and then, well, I mean, it was me and Kevin were at the site. There's this turkey like circling around the site. And then the next time we went out, we saw the turkey laying next to the site, and then we realized it's because the turkey had eggs. But that was turkey nesting site directly, and then the turkey got so used to us being out there, the turkey just stopped circling and just lay there right next to us. We named him our official mascot.
What was his actual name? Did you give him a name?
Turkey. We're not very original.
Okay.
Named him after one of the monitors. Well, that would make sense.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions? I think the next what happened. Evan had asked about what's contractual and that. We're not sure if it's going to be a contractor or a temporary agency, but we can change that once we figure that out. If we decide we don't want to use a contract, we want to use the temp agency, so we can just change that category. So that's how we put it. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I've kind of hit the high points with the presentation as far as the numbers go. You can see the 103 and the 105 increase, which match up to what I showed on the slides. The $50,000 showing under capital outlay vehicle. You can see that we're projecting a net impact fund balance of $107,000. We projected around $100,000, I think, for FY23. We actually put $8,000 back in. That's that negative number at the bottom. FY24, we're projecting about $100,000. So I expect to get to that.
So actually, obviously the board's seen this for the first time. Typically, we'll review it, over the next couple of months, and then in May we'll come back to the board and ask to approve the budget so it can be ready for the county's fiscal year.
And I would point out in the ordinance, you can see where we've got salaries and benefits and services and supplies. It's on page 32, all in one number. That was just so we can move money between categories instead of having an emergency meeting and category like we did last year or two ago. That just gives us a little bit of flexibility. We would definitely know if we were going to move money categories, but we wouldn't have to have a special meeting if we got it that way. So that's a new thing we've done the last couple of years. We've been making the budget tighter and not having wiggle room here. Did I miss anything, Betsy? I don't think so.
All right, any burning questions by the board for the moment? The big thing is the seventh position. We just, Ashley and I've talked about. I know the board has too. If we're going to go under the county, we'd like to be transitioning in a more, full staffed way. Is really the thinking. And plus we have the succession planning to have to factor into.
Okay, so what's the next thing?
You're still up.
Okay, so grant. So I promised you guys grant updates. Inflation Reduction Act. We've already discussed that. As far as those one-time funds, the state primary climate action plan was released and it's out for public comment. I was hoping that we might be able to apply for some funds under that. Still kind of waiting to see how that's going to shake out and to see if, areas like ours can take advantage of it. There might be some sub awards under the state. Then we have some ideas for projects, but we're just kind of waiting to see what happens there. The revised PM standard, I'm going to wait and let James cover that at the monitoring report. Power plant greenhouse gas rule, item E. The news there is that this is the EPA's Clean Power Plan, the one, the Obama administration's Clean Power Plan was thrown out by the courts. The Trump administration's was as well. This is the Biden plan. And last year we reported it was going to cover not just coal-fired EGUs, electric generating units like our power plant here, but gas plants like our new plant that runs on the natural gas turbines. And so the large ones, like the 2 new units, were going to be covered. And what they were proposing was co-firing with hydrogen or carbon sequestration by a certain percent by a certain year. And they have just signaled that they are taking the natural gas plants out of the proposal. It's at OMB now, and it's only going to cover, so they're calling it the greenhouse gas standards for power plants are only going to cover the coal plants right now. They're going to be out any day now. And what they're saying is that for natural gas plants like ours, they're going to kind of go back to the drawing board and work on the proposal some more for what they're going to require for greenhouse gases. And they're also going to include some additional pollutants like NOx, which affects ground level ozone, and HAPs. So stay tuned. That's the only update I have there. You may have seen something in the news about it. Any questions on that? Nope. Okay, so for the sustainable microbrewery project, if it's okay with Evan, I might let you cover that in your report, because we talked about that at the advisory committee. Clean Air Excellence Awards, we are currently taking nominations. We've not received any. Need to try to do some more outreach. The county sent out our press release, and I know Asheville.com covered it, but I haven't really seen it anywhere else. So keep trying to promote that. Air Quality Awareness Week is coming up May 6th through the 10th. We always try to do some social media things, and I'd really like to try to ask the commissioners to do an air quality awareness proclamation. But the thing is, you have to really plan ahead and get your request in a couple months in advance, and I should have submitted the draft proclamation by now. And anyway, I'm hoping to do that in the next few days, and hoping to do that this year. We'll see. I just wanted to mention it in case that does work out. We would hope that could be done that week in May at their Tuesday meeting. So I'll let you guys know. When's our meeting? Our meeting, when this board meets again, would be that Thursday. So if we are going to have a proclamation, we'll send out a notice and let you guys know. And next item is monitoring update.
All right, I'll do this as quick as I can. Everybody's get out of here. Obviously, the big thing that Ashley's already spoiler alert. The PM standard's been lowered from 12. The annual PM standard has been lowered from 12 to 9, which is a significant reduction. Thankfully, our PM monitor, our particular one, as you can see on this map, that shows the entire North Carolina state and what they might be issuing with, but we are going to, this 9, we should still stay well below that. This design values for, just for the 21 through 2023, which does include some days in 2023 that were smoky. There were some bad smoke days, so some of the data here might actually not be considered due to what's called exceptional events. EPA says that you can apply to the EPA and say, hey, there was a lot of smoke that came from Canadian wildfire that we couldn't control this. Therefore, we should not get, it should not count toward our design value. For us, it's not a problem. For 4 monitors in the state, it is. As you can see on that one, there's 4 monitors in the state that can possibly be above the design value unless these exceptional event days are considered. And if that's the case, those could probably all also go below 9. But 9 means that the standard is getting a lot closer to a lot of other, monitors. And, we also have to just be aware of how smoke's going to affect us, which is the big thing. Most likely they're going to be using 2022 to 2024 data, so it's going to include those smoky days. The other thing I just wanted to briefly say about this is the AQI is changing. That's going to mean that we're going to have more days that are going to be considered yellow that were once considered green. This chart kind of shows that the previous, and these are like daily values, and the AQI is, it's kind of tied to the federal standard, but it's not quite, you know, this is just to try to, it's a public outreach thing, AQI is. So before, you know, a good day was 0 to 12 micrograms. And now a good day is going to be considered 0 to 9. So that cutoff for where a green day ends and a yellow day begins is changing. And I went back and looked at our data in 2022, which was, we had less smoke days then, so I kind of wanted a year that seemed more normal. That year we had 11 yellow days for the entire year for our PM, which are around 365 days, 11 yellow days. If that data was applied to the new AQI, we would have had 72 yellow days. So what we're going to see when this goes into effect, which I think is only going to be in like 2 or 3 months, you're going to see a lot more yellow forecasted days than there were before. And it doesn't mean that the air quality has changed. It just means that these numbers have, the EPA has decided that these numbers need to be adjusted to warn people even at these lower levels of particulate matter that, you know, yellow basically means you're really sensitive, you have asthma or other breathing issues that you should just take notice and probably not, you know, you limit exertive type outdoor activities. So yeah, we're going to see a change when that happens, and we'll see a lot more yellow days, but it's not reflective of the number that's happening. It's just reflective of this change. Outside of that, you know, we're doing really well on data completeness for PM 98.8. Ozone just started March 1st. So we only have a couple weeks of data with ozone, but that's starting off well so far. That's about it.
Thanks, James. So permit modifications are next, Milco and RTX or Pratt and Whitney. You want?
I'll take it one at a time.
Okay.
Question, you want just overview what the Milco
Okay,
is? So
Milco was participating in a project with Duke Energy where they had an emergency generator that was under an I should probably let James explain, that was doing peak shaving essentially, where the utility gives them a financial incentive, and then if they need extra power, they fire up their generator. Well, they decided they no longer wanted to participate in that program anymore. And so they asked us to change that in their permit. So basically that means that it becomes an emergency generator again, where it's only being used, you know, for emergency purposes. And that changes the classification of the facility because it changes how we calculate their worst case emissions. So we were able to update the permit and reclassify them as a small facility based on worst case. Is it 500 hours a year or 100 hours for emergency generators? 500. And then at the same time, we updated some permit conditions.
entertain a motion to approve the.
Move to approve the permit modification for Milco.
Second by Gary. Questions? All's in favor of approving that modification to the permit, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
Okay, so Pratt and Whitney, they were Raytheon. We did the name change last board meeting. They're now RTX Corporation Pratt and Whitney. This modification is pretty standard for when you have a new facility. They never know exactly what the equipment is going to end up being, and then we have to go in and clean up the permit. So the generators that they ended up purchasing were smaller in size than what they had proposed. There was some equipment that they were going to vent differently, and that the equipment was in different places. Also, they had done air pollution modeling. And whenever you do that and things move around, then, you know, there's just a lot of updating that needs done. James, is there anything else that you would add? Or?
Pretty much that. It's just basically cleaning up. You know, you have a pre-construction application that are engineers based and everything else, and then you get people on the ground, and sometimes, you know, those engineering stuff gets slightly changed as you're building stuff out. This is just to match what, you know.
And in this situation, we typically encourage them to err on the side of being conservative. Tell us how tell us the boilers are larger than you think they're going to be, because it's easier if they end up being smaller and your emissions are less than it is the other way around. So that's how it played out here. So that was good.
Motion.
Move to approve the permit modification for RTX Corporation.
Second.
Second by Gary. Okay. Further questions? Easy peasy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Okay, we're on to new business, which we have none. And then on to other business. Amy, legal counsel report.
Good news.
Another good report. That's great. And then on to the advisory committee. Advisory committee met in February. Evan, give us an overview.
Yeah, it was Ava, my former student, presented her sustainable brewery project to some EPA employees, and they loved it. The whole meeting was Ava's presentation and discussion about that. We've been talking to Micah Kraus about holding an event during Beer Week, and it looks like that's going to happen, which is exciting. There'll be a panel. My former student will be on the panel along with the breweries that she worked with. Yeah, the EPA was really interested in the project. I thought it was
Cool.
so we didn't have much time to talk about anything else.
I would just add that we have been asked to present with Ava at the National Advance meeting. And so Ava has agreed to do that. And there's air agencies all over the nation that are part of this advance program that we're doing for voluntary, projects. And so she's going to present with me. I'm just going to introduce her project at the March or April meeting. And so, and Evan has named the event in May, Brewing Some Good for the Environment. And Wicked Weed is going to sponsor it and have it at the Funkatorium. And we're going to give out some sort of certificate of appreciation or recognition to the 4 breweries that participated. So we've got to come up with that. But I think Evan and Betsy and maybe Joel are going to be there. I'm not going to be able to be there. I have to go to the directors meeting in Atlanta.
And that's on the 6th of May, is it?
It's May 21st, which is Tuesday, and it's from 6 to 8, and all are welcome. It's not limited. It's, the target audience is breweries, and we're hoping to get some other breweries to sign up for this year's project. But you don't have to be a brewery. If you just want to come check it out, you're welcome to come, and we'll send you guys the announcement once it's final.
Very good. Okay, down to the calendar. Next meeting will be May 9th. It's a Thursday, I believe, right? No.
Yes.
Thursday. Okay. Like we have been doing. And any announcements by board members? But yeah, see if you can make the brewery. That sounds like a lot of fun. I got it on my calendar.
I'll have a good turnout for that.
Yeah, Gary will go.
I'll write it down.
All right.
I forgot to mention Wicked Weed is going to provide up to 1 free drink for everyone that attends. And we're working on food now. So
Start. Anybody else? Announcements? Okay, hearing none. Public comment. I'm assuming we have none over there. And
Move to adjourn.
Down to adjourn. Move to adjourn by Carl.
Second.
Same way, Evan. We're adjourned.
Aye.
Is it pretty good on the meeting? It's only 7 after.
yeah, see, you can get to the airport by 5:30, man.